Okay, good evening. We're going to bring this session of the Lawndale City Council as well as the Lawndale Redevelopment Successor Agency meeting to order. I'm going to ask the city clerk to give us the roll call.
Mayor Pro Tem Suarez.
Here.
Councilmember Kearney.
Here.
Councilmember Reed.
Here.
Councilmember Osborne.
Here.
Mayor Poland Miles.
Here.
All present.
Thank you, madam. Now we're going to have our flag salute. I'm going to ask Councilmember Daniel Reed to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance. And Pastor Douglas Gates will lead us in a word of inspiration from the House of Celebration.
All right, please place your right hand over your heart and repeat along with me. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Please remain standing.
Happy New Year, Mr. Mayor, City Council members, ladies and gentlemen. Pastor George Magdalene of Hope Chapel sends his blessings. Let us pray. Lord, we are so thankful that you are our God. We're thankful that you have brought us through another year full of blessings. It is our prayer you continually bless us with your love, your mercy, and your grace. Be with us, Lord, as we govern your people. Give us wisdom to follow your guidelines as we lead this great city you have given us to govern. Lord, we know that there will be many challenges ahead of us, but by your grace we will overcome each and every one. Lord, we pray that you give your people a heart to follow our lead as we lead by you. You are our great God and King, and we know you will continue to lead us as we follow you. We thank you for prospering us these many years, and you continue to look forward to your prosperity and growth. We thank you, Lord, for all that you have done, and we praise you for all you will do. We thank you, Lord, for all you have given us as we praise your holy name through your great Son and our great Lord, Christ Jesus. Lord, we also pray that you bless our nation, you bless our country, you bless our president and his administration as they protect our country and our nation from those that would try to destroy us. We're so thankful that you are our God. Be to each and every one of us as we continue to praise you and give you blessings through Christ our Lord. Amen.
Amen. Thank you, Pastor Gates. Okay, at this time we'll have our public safety report. Let's hear from our Captain Allen. Yes, sir.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor and the members of the City Council. I'm here tonight to present the Public Safety Report for December 2nd through January 5th. On December 3rd at 11:30 p.m., Deputy Abraham responded to the Starbucks Coffee at 149th Street and Hawthorne Boulevard regarding a fight. He contacted an employee at the location who had observed two males tampering with his vehicle. When the employee confronted the males, they became aggressive and punched him in the face. Both males then ran to the Budget Inn across the street. While speaking to the deputy, the victim saw both males standing on a balcony at the hotel. Deputy Abraham with assisting units then contacted both males. One male immediately became aggressive, yelling at Deputy Abraham. A fight ensued, with the first suspect culminating with Deputy Abraham being struck in his head by the other suspect. Deputy Abraham was able to subdue the first suspect after a short altercation in the hotel room. Assisting deputies were able to take the other suspect into custody without further incident. Due to the above, both suspects were placed on arrest, transported to South Los Angeles Station, and booked for assault likely to create great bodily injury, battery on a police officer, and vandalism. On December 14th, early in the morning, Deputy Hayes and Hernandez responded to 14,800 block of Freeman Avenue regarding a male screaming for help. Prior to their arrival, another unit saw the same male in the middle of the street wearing a blood-stained clothing. He was holding a brick, yelling profanities at the deputies, and acting incoherently. The suspect failed numerous times to drop the brick and calm down. The suspect then attempted to enter residence by using bodily force, which met with negative results. At this point, the suspect then made an aggressive move towards the deputies, waving a brick. To stop his aggression, one less lethal impact round containing a foam sponge was fired at the suspect, immediately causing him to fall to the ground. Deputies were then able to take him into custody without further incident. He was treated at the hospital, then transported to South Los Angeles Station and booked for vandalism and violation of a restraining order. Last, on December 30th at 1 a.m., Deputy Corrigan responded to a burglary in progress in the 15,400 block of Larch Avenue. The call stated that the informant's ex-boyfriend was attempting to gain access via her rear bedroom window. The suspect then fled the location of the vehicle out of view. Deputy Corrigan advised the assisting units to check the surrounding area. The suspect vehicle was detained by assisting units a short time later. Deputy Corrigan responded to the suspect's location. After a search of the suspect's vehicle, 2 handguns were located. After checking for any wants or warrants, it was revealed he was a convicted ex-felon. Due to the above, he was placed under arrest, transported to South Los Angeles Station, and booked for ex-felon in possession of firearms and carrying a loaded firearm not registered to the owner. This concludes my report. I'd be happy to entertain any questions.
Okay, thank you for that report. Are there any questions of the captain's report?
Captain, thank you for the report. Hope the deputies recovered okay from the altercations and everything.
Yeah, he's okay. Thank you.
And I'd hope, and I guess there's really no way of knowing any of these individuals were the result of Prop 47 or 57 that's resulted in other similar incidents throughout the state. So, but I guess there's no way to know.
Yeah, I mean, running their background record, we would be able to determine that, but I wouldn't have that information in front of me right now.
Okay, thank you.
You are.
Okay. Thank you, Captain. Okay, now we are on item D, which is oral communications. This is when you have the opportunity to speak to this body, being either the Lawndale City Council or the redevelopment successor agency on items that are not on the agenda. If you would like to speak to either body, we ask that you would line up by the flag. When it becomes your turn, when you approach the podium, if you would start with your name first, we would appreciate that. At about 2 minutes, the amber light will come on to give you the signal to start wrapping things up. Let's have our first speaker. Yes, ma'am.
Lenore Bemis from Lawndale. I got to see what I'm going to read here. Okay, first of all, the Santa Sleigh thing you had at the city and that whole weekend, it was wonderful. You had a skating area. At first I thought it was roller skating till I saw it, and then I saw these little darling children with the skates on, but there was no ice. However, they were attempting it, and it looked like fun. Downtown LA, they have little walkers without the rollers for the skaters that aren't real knowledgeable. We should get a few of those for next year so I can do that too. I grew up with snow, and I hope to goodness that you keep it going. At least try another year. I know there was everything, a lot going on. That's why a lot didn't show up. But I was stuck around and watched it for quite a while. And the sled thing, or the thing with the snow, I want to do that again next year. So hopefully I'll be around next year to do that. Also, I'm here in regards to the Lawndale Historical Society. We're having our meeting this Saturday. There's flyers out around outside there for you to grab one. It's from 2 to 4.
Thank you. It seemed like the time went kind of fast. Did we? Yeah. Okay.
Judy's going to give a presentation. Plus, you can find out if she will be there to help you or answer any questions. She's done this before, and it was very well received, and I'm sure that you'll enjoy it. Remember that memories are made and never forgotten. Hope to see you there.
Thank you.
I'm Judy Ojewski, resident of Lawndale and a member of the Beautification Committee, and I'm here on behalf of the Beautification Committee tonight. First of all, I'd like to thank all of the city staff who were so helpful and just went over and above in helping us with our holiday decorating contest this year, as far as getting the paperwork and everything done and arranging for the driver and everything. It was just a really good event. We had, I don't know, about 50 applications, I believe, for various categories, and it was it was fun, and it's just wonderful to see how well Lawndale does in celebrating the holiday spirit. You know, even those who didn't win, if they just had lights out, it just makes you feel good. So I'd like to thank all of the residents who went overboard, and then those who just did a little bit, because it all adds up together. So the other thing, we are having the awards ceremony, which is for the decorating contest, over at the community building, 3rd floor, on January 25th at 2 p.m. And everyone is invited, and we will be giving the awards to the various winners. They've been notified that they're about the event and that they're the winners. And the other thing, and this is also beautification, when we do the flyers for entries into the contest, we also include along the side a little thing about recycling Christmas trees. And it specifically says you have to take off the decorations and you have to take off the stand and all that. And as I've been walking my dog and driving around the area, I'm really impressed with how many live trees that I see that are in fact properly placed out for recycling. In other words, they are with just the tree itself, you know, nothing extra. So I'd like to thank those residents who are in fact doing their bit to make Lawndale beautiful.
Thank you. Yes, sir.
Paul Jordan, I've lived in the city a number of years. I worked for the city a number of years. My problem is, or what I think should have been done a long time ago, although nobody would listen to me as an employee, 145th, 149th, 153rd Street, and 156th Street. You pull into the medium strip there, and you have to pull out. You have to pull out and make a right-hand turn. You're pulling into the left hand in front of the person that's trying to make a left-hand turn off Hawthorne Boulevard, and you got to look over your shoulder. Hopefully you can see past the bushes, and you don't get hit by a car because of you got a car sitting right next to you, which happened to me last week one day. What's that? That is my biggest concern. I think it's a dangerous, and probably if I was involved in an accident like that, I'd probably try and come and sue the city for it because of it is very difficult to see over it. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Pam London, 171st. Talking to you tonight. Congratulations again for becoming city manager of Lawndale. Lawndale has gone through many changes in the past 2 to 4 years. Most of them have been good changes. We have 3 new department heads, as well as your position. When these new department heads have come, with them have come great change that will benefit the city for many years to come. In some cases, their level of skill and knowledge is above anything we had before. These people have worked very hard and shown their value and commitment to this city. I believe Lawndale residents would back each of these statements without question, even though they came from me. My hope is that you will see their value, that you will work with them and not try and replace them with people of your own choosing. They have been an asset. They truly have. This city has needed change for many, many years, and now we have it. I fear what would happen and what could happen if we lose it. Tonight on the agenda, you will see another example of change being brought forward that was needed many years ago. Our fee schedule needs to be addressed in every department. This is one of those situations that has been overlooked far too long. Again, congratulations, and I look forward to seeing changes that you too will bring about for the city. One of those changes that I hope you will look into, citations for code enforcement violations. Our code enforcement department is overworked due to the lack of care that was taken by the previous department head. With citations, our code enforcement officers may be able to see the light from under the mounds of open code cases that residents and property owners are far too sorry to fix. But again, congratulations, and I really do appreciate all the people that have come to work for this city in the past few years, and it has really and truly been good working with each and every one of them. So I look forward to seeing all those good changes you too will bring. Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Good evening. Eddie Lopez, 14321 Condon Avenue. Here on a follow-up, I suggested some additional one-way signs on 145th and Condon last month. Let me think. It's been a month. I haven't seen any progress. So I'm here to question where we're at. And in the evening, if you don't pay attention to the signs or can't see the signs, there should be some additional signage, either painted on the street, fluorescent paint, flashing signs, or some sort of identification saying you're going the wrong way down a one-way street. And make it pay. Put up a camera. Pretty simple stuff nowadays. You know, if you can have one in your house with 42 camera pictures, I'm sure the city can figure out a way to put one up to take pictures of people going the wrong way and hand them a nice $20 ticket. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Yes, sir.
Yes, I was extremely shocked. I felt like Fred Sanford in Sanford and Son when I got my trash bill today. Unbeknownst to me, even though I did contact the city previously when I got the notice that there were going to be rate increases, the rate increase is absolutely asininely ridiculous. My bill is almost 100% higher than it was previously. It went from $27.69, which I paid on October 1st, to the current bill of $54.06. Now, I contacted the city and was directed to the Public Works Department, and I spoke with Liz there. She informed me that the China is no longer buying our trash, and the dump rates went up, and so on and so forth, but her supervisor wasn't available to go into this further. Obviously, in our day and age, there will be inflation. Everybody understands that, or essentially everyone. But 100% increase is not right. Now, I have reminded this council that several decades ago, the council approved the purchase of junk bonds and lost $1 million. Maybe they're trying to recoup it through this contract. I can't help but wonder if somebody's getting some money put in their pocket here. This increase, for me alone, is over $100 a year. If there's 25,000 bills going out, that represents $2.5 million increase in this trash contract. And incidentally, I'd like to know who signed the contract and who's responsible for the review of this contract and what alternatives were considered instead of using this current trash provider. It is my understanding that the city has the contract with Republic Services, and the citizens basically have no say-so in this contract at all, which I find obnoxious. We should at least have a copy of the contract that we are subjected to paying bills for. So I would like to hear from the council, preferably in writing, as to the questions that I put forth. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, sir. I'm sorry, sir, can you give us your name? Real quick?
Gary Adams.
Gary
I
Adams.
provided the written card.
Okay, Gary Adams. Great, thank you. Yes, sir.
Randall Abram. I got this, my bill with Republic actually went up 100% also from 32 to 64. I don't have a problem with that. I mean, I have relatives that live way out in the boondocks and they have to take their trash to the dump, so I don't mind paying that. But what was misleading about the whole thing was that in the information that Republic sent, they talked about a 5% increase in 2021. They didn't talk about a 100% increase in the year 2020. So I think that document was very misleading because people read that, may have thought they were going to get a small increase because public didn't tell them very clear. It was not very clear that there was going to be a 100% increase to certain residents. And again, I don't have a problem paying that amount. I just think part of the confusion is the way it was sold by Republic. Thank you.
Thank you also for that clarification. Okay, let's bring it up to the dais for some comments from the council on any of these items. Let's start with
Went from last to first.
Yes, sir.
Going down the line. Thank Lenore for the reminder. I got Saturday 2 to 4. That means this Saturday? Okay. I'm going to make sure I got the time right on the program. Thank you for that. And good to see Judy again. I haven't seen you in a long time, so glad to know you're doing well. And January 25th, 2 p.m. for the awards. And Paul was mentioning streets. Paul, I got 3 of them jotted. You went kind of quick. It was 145th, 149th, 153rd? 156, thank you. So did... All right. Hopefully staff caught those streets, and which brings me to another thing. At the last meeting, I requested that at least some representative from Public Works be in attendance for these meetings. Hopefully we can do that for the next meeting, because 3 of these questions that have come up tonight are Public Works issues, and we have no one to turn to get clarity on those things. In the past we did. I know that we have an interim director, but maybe there's somebody there that can serve as a conduit to take this information directly from the residents that come to the meetings and provide council with information and answers. Right, tonight we're just scratching our heads. We don't really know what Public Works information may be. So, and that goes to Eddie's thing on the one-way signs. Again, that's a Public Works question and issue. Why the engineering determine what signage goes where, why it's there, and that sort of thing. We don't have the information until it's directed to Public Works. So, and then Gary was talking about the trash bill, and earlier this evening I was talking to the city attorney about this because I had the same kind of shock on my bill. And just to give you a figure, mine, I just have the one container. I think it's the large. I'm not sure. I know there's 3 sizes: small, medium, large. I think I got the large. And but I put a lot of green waste and so forth. But it was on average, I think it was $42, and all of a sudden it jumped to $75. But I could have swore it was for a 2-month collection period, and now it's 3 months. And I want it, but again, there's nobody from Public Works to confirm that for me tonight. But I think that was the shift from 2 months to 3 and quarterly, and that was part of the jump in increase. Can we find that out to be determined?
Yes, we're working on confirming that.
Okay, that might clear some of this up. That might be part of what's giving shell shock on it, because I looked at mine and I go, whoa, that went up. Because I recall at the meeting when we were doing the approval, I asked the figure that was up on the screen. It was a number in the 50s, like 50-something was like an average figure. And I think, Councilman Kearney, you said that was quarterly now. So that made sense to me. But I think it was a shift for at least my statement. I can't speak for everybody, but I think it's the same. That it was every 2 months on the billing cycle, and it went to every 3. So we'll find that out. Great. That's all I got. Thank you.
Yes, sir. Councilman Daniel Reed.
Mr. Osborne, you kind of covered it all, but don't want to repeat too much of it. But yes, I'm waiting on my bill. I didn't see it today, so as soon as I get it. But I do believe that was the deal. It wasn't going to be a monthly anymore. It was going to be a quarterly. But one of the big things is double checking to make sure that you're being charged for the size container you have. Because if they defaulted the bill at 95, and this is just my speculation, if they defaulted your bill to the high container and you've got the smaller one, that's a building issue that should be able to be corrected. But, yeah, as we said, if we had some public works here, maybe they'd know right off the bat. Being a new issue, we'll look forward to something on the next meeting.
All right.
Mayor, if I could also add,
Yes, sir.
the contract, I believe, is on the website. Matt, can you confirm that?
Should be like a public
Yeah.
document.
I mean, on the agenda when it was approved, and there were several
They were all on
meetings over the course of the year
Weren't all the companies on there?
where we workshopped it. The contract with Republic
But we also
that was
had-
approved.
Didn't we put all the
proposals.
bids on the website too?
No, just the listing of the bidders. Actually, no, the bidding, they might have been
summary.
reviewed, but at the time, the bidders were listed online.
Oh, my turn. Is it- I do want to speak on Eddie's issue. Maybe we have a camera. Maybe we can put that camera down on Condon. And instead of being voice activated, actually snap pictures of the people going the wrong way and recoup some of this funding. Because I like to see 3 or 4 other cameras in the city. Because we have a lot of dumping going on. And people think our public works are in charge of picking up their dump. They're not. So with that, I'll pass it on to Mayor Pro Tem Suarez.
Mayor Pro Tem Suarez.
First and foremost, I want to thank everybody for coming out and wish everyone a happy new year. And so I think my colleagues basically covered everything, most of everyone's questions. I do want to thank Lenore and Judy for all the volunteer work that you both do. A lot of these events that we do, it's only because of your dedication and the hours that you put into it. I also want to give our new city manager a chance. I know one of our residents, gave you a few comments about what she hopes to see, so I didn't know if you wanted to give her a response.
Sure, I'd be glad to. Thank you. Of course, I come here as your new city manager. I thank you for the opportunity that the council has given me. But yes, I do come here with experience from working with 5 other cities over 25 years. So I do have a lot of thoughts and ideas about how I would like to lead the city, working with the department heads that are here tonight. But my first, as I mentioned to the council and to the staff during the first few months, my role, my job, what I want to do for myself is to just observe the organization and see how it currently functions. And then after I've had some time to assess the operations, at that point I'll offer some suggestions for doing things a little bit differently. And of course, whatever that may be, it'll be working with the staff and the council. So yes, I do have ideas, and I would like to bring those ideas forward. But first things first, I guess. And for now, I'm just learning and assessing.
And just to add, I do agree that we do have some wonderful department heads. I'm very happy that they've come on board. And with that, I'll pass it along.
Okay, thank you, Madam Pro Tem. I want to thank also Judy for her hard work, for being on the beautification committee for a lot of years. 1985. We just thank you for all what you do on the beautification committee, and also thank Lenore for all the good comments that she made about the Santa's, not the Santa sleigh, but the new addition, the ice rink that we had this year. There was something new we was trying this year. It was a huge turnout that Friday. Saturday was a little more challenging in terms of turnout, but it's something new. I'm sure people such as yourself will be excited next year and will be ready for the ice next year. So we welcome to see you on the ice next year. So you might have to bring your own walker. I'm not sure how this is going to work, but we'll try to do that again as well next year. Mr. Jordan, thank you for bringing the traffic hazard to our attention. We'll take a look at those locations that you mentioned. Thank you for that. Mr. Lopez, we will get a status for you on the one-way street signs as well. So thank you for bringing that to our attention, keeping it on our radar, I should say. And I'm also going to ask that, it sounds like we've said yes, but make sure that I'm clear, that someone from, not necessarily Public Works, but someone from someone from Public Works will be here next week, but in addition, someone from our trash consultant company to be here to kind of explain how the trash contract go, and so people know what to expect on their bills.
Or Kevin or I will have, or the Public Works
Someone
Director
is-
will have a firm understanding. I do believe what Councilmember Osborne said is correct, though, because we did get the updated rates, and for the biggest one, it's $29 a month. So that would make sense that his bill is where it's at if it's 3 months, not 2 months.
So it sounds like if it's 3 months, then it's,
So it should
although
be
you're paying it
50%
at one
more.
time, it's actually cheaper. It sounds like. Is
No,
that-
they all did go up about the 5%
well,
that Jim
cheaper than what people
referenced.
expect it to be.
Right, it is more along the line of the percentage that Jim referenced. And,
That's better
and the
news.
monthly number that's in the Prop 218 notice that went out for the public hearing that was held shows the monthly rate, not that it's done quarterly, so that it would be 3 months at a time that you get your bill for.
That's right.
Well, then when
But
you
we will
advertise
confirm
it,
that.
Okay. Well, if that's what it happens to be, then that's a better.
I may be
Feel more comfortable
out of order,
about
but
that,
That is
yeah.
incorrect.
Yeah.
Previous-
Well, we'll see what's
We'll
correct.
see. We'll see
our
when we'll report back,
consultant,
for sure.
but hopefully, that's the case, because that sounds much better. Right.
And Mr.
Okay.
Mayor,
Yes,
if I
sir.
might, I'm sure
my glasses
that
on so I
when
can
the
see.
trash contract renewal was brought to the council's attention, there was probably some explanation as to how the billing would occur.
Yes.
Either monthly or on a quarterly basis. Perhaps that wasn't clear to the public. What I would suggest at this point, if you're okay with it, is we can make contact with our trash consultant, and I can have them, as well as our Public Works staff, come and do another presentation to further clarify how the billing works. So we can have that for the
If
next
it's
meeting.
brief. Because we went through it for an hour.
So if that's the case, the sticker shop is not as much as it seems, because you're billing for a greater period of time.
Well, that's what I said, yeah.
Yeah.
If mine went up by, let's say, another 30%, well, that's another month.
Yeah.
So that's from 2 to 3.
Right, and I
I
do
think.
think that was discussed at the public hearing, which was, I think, the November 15th meeting, which would be online for people to go look at.
That's true, you could
We
reference that.
just didn't, we just talked about that right before the meeting, so we didn't have a chance to
Okay.
chat.
All right, so we'll close public comments and comments from the council. And we are now at our consent calendar, item F, rather. Consent calendar. What is the pleasure of the consent calendar for the Lawndale City Council and the Redevelopment Successor Agency?
If there's no additions or subtractions, I make a motion to accept the consent calendar as written.
I'll second it.
Okay, the motion is made by Mr. Pat Kearney that we approve consent calendar, and Mr. Daniel Reed second. The motions, are any discussion, and you want to read that? Okay, let's see if there's any discussion on it.
Nope.
Okay, please read it.
There's an ordinance that's item number 3. It's ordinance number 1167-20, an ordinance of the City Council of the City of Lawndale, California, amending portions of Lawndale Municipal Code Title 15 to update the uniform codes adopted by the city by reference by adding the 2019 Los Angeles County Building, Electrical, Mechanical, Plumbing, Residential, and Existing Building Codes, and the 2019 California Green Building Standards Code within Title 15, and adopting local amendments to these county codes. Thank you.
Very good, thank you. Without any further discussion, would the council please vote on the consent calendar?
Motion approved unanimously.
Okay. Thank you. Next item on the agenda is item number 10, which is a public hearing concerning business licenses and permit fees.
9.
Okay. Yeah, that's not. Okay, let's start with the staff update. Who's going to give this update?
Happy New Year.
Yes, ma'am. Happy New Year to you.
The item before you is on business license and permit fees. They were adopted in 1991. After that time frame, 2 new fees were added for massage massage technicians, and tobacco retailers in 1996 and 2009. No other changes were made to these fees since they were adopted. Currently, we are implementing an online payment portal. This is to collect our business license fees, and in the future, other fees for 24-hour, 7-day access to make payments. And with that, the average cost to collect online is 3%. That includes gateway processing, credit card companies, access fees. So what we're recommending is that we increase our current fees by 3%. We do plan in the long term to do a formal rate study, but we want to recover our costs currently for the increase in the online processing. If the fees are adopted, these will be effective for the 2020 business license fees. We plan on billing these February 1st, and they will be due March 1st. The online portal will then, as I mentioned, will be a 24-hour, 7-day access. People will still be able to mail in checks or pay in person. If they pay in person, we're going to encourage them to use the kiosk and provide customer service for that. We have a kiosk outdoors that we're just getting ready to put in for that purpose. That concludes my report. And if you have any questions, I'm open to those.
I have
Yes,
a
are
question.
there any, let's just ask any points of clarification before.
Yeah, on the
hearing.
staff review, it says about midway through, the cost to receive online collections is approximately 3% of the amount received. And then therefore, in order to collect the additional cost of providing online services, it's recommended to increase the existing business license and permit fees by the 3%. I'm just curious, how did we come to the 3%?
The 3% is basically a industry average. We looked into about 20 different gateway processors to use our online collections, and this was the lowest cost that we could obtain. So we did contract with them, and basically your gateway processor is like PayPal or, where you do your online collections. They're the ones that collect the money and put it into your account. Included in that fee would be credit card charges, banking fees. So that is the average from the contractor that we're incurring. So all we're doing is we're going to pay it, but we're increasing our fees to absorb that cost. We are paying credit card fees now, but we're absorbing those, and we've never increased our fees since they were established almost 30 years ago.
Understood. Is it possible, though, say, maybe in a year's time, to analyze that figure just to see if that's accurate to what we're collecting?
Yes,
and then
yes.
perhaps adjust higher or lower, whatever the case may be?
That is our intent. The intent
Just to make it accurate?
Yes. Not just that. What the desire of staff is to look at all of our fees for the entire city, determine what the cost is to provide services.
You want to be fair.
And maybe make a recommendation at that time to change our fees, but to look at them and make sure that we're not profiting, that we're no more than recovering our costs.
Okay, thank you.
And I had a question
Yes,
as
ma'am.
well with regards to the business license and permit fee schedule. So it shows the current rate, it shows the proposed rate, and then the increase. Under application fee, it jumps from 75 to 278. Is that a typo or?
Where are you at, Bernadette?
It's yeah. So right after the resolution, there is an attachment, and it shows the figures of the increases. So it's page. It's labeled as page Exhibit A.
That is a typo. The one you've got is a typo. It should be 78.
Okay.
So yes, I don't know how that one got in there, but we will correct that.
Okay. And then I had similar questions too regarding the payments. So we're looking at increasing all of transactions regardless of if they're paid over the counter.
Yes.
Okay, and that's so and also too, it's as of now we've been losing since we've implemented online payments or the system, we've been losing that 3%.
Correct.
Okay.
Okay, with that, I'm going to open up the public hearing. It's 7:16. I'm going to open up the public hearing at this time. This time we're going to take testimony for those who would like to provide any comments or testimony before this board. If you'd like to provide any testimony, we ask that you stand and be sworn in by the city attorney.
Do you swear to tell the truth in your testimony before the city council this evening?
I do.
Thank you.
Okay, let's have our first witness. Yes, ma'am.
This is exactly what I was referring to before. So she's new. So she's going to bring great things as well, but certainly all the fees do need to be raised and looked at. And yeah, and then, of course, a little bit out of the scope, but at one point I did bring up that there were at least 2,000 rental properties that did not have business license in this city. So I hope that we can figure out how to get those business licenses done as well. And I know that other cities don't necessarily have a flat fee for their business license. So I hope that we'll look at some of those as well, those opportunities. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, at this time, I'm going to close the testimony at 7:17. We're going to close the public hearing and bring it to the council for a deliberations debate. What is the pleasure of this body concerning this item? Any discussion?
No, I don't think we have any further discussion. I'll make a motion to approve.
I'll second.
Okay, there's been a motion by Daniel Reed to approve, and second.
I do have one question.
Any discussion?
When do we expect to get the figures for the actual costs that we are incurring? Or do we have a
We have, the cost is 3% according to the company.
Okay.
And what we'll do is analyze that, and if we need to adjust it, we will be doing that. We're going to do a cost study this fiscal year. We're going to do an RFP by the end of the fiscal year. So we will have that at least within a year.
Okay.
And we will monitor it. My group will monitor it.
Definitely. I was just wondering if we had a time frame for that, but thank you. No more questions.
Okay, without any more questions, there is a motion to approve on the floor. The council, please vote.
Motion approved unanimously.
Okay, thank you, Madam City Clerk. Okay, the next item is also a public hearing. Item number 10, selection of projects for the fiscal year 2020-21, concerning the community development block grants. Let's have the staff report. Yes, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Good evening, council and members of the audience. This item before you is selection of the community development block grants for year 2020-21, the 46 program year for the community development block grant. Generally, we bring this to you every single year, and that's the selections of the roadways and for the senior activities project. We estimate the grant to be about $319,860. As described, each year LACDA, they changed their name to Los Angeles County Development Authority, provides an estimate for the new annual year of what our funds will be, and based on the proposal, we're within 5 to 10% of that. $63,972 would be used for senior activities. And then we provided the council with a list of resurfacing project of streets. I'll briefly go over them. Manhattan Beach Boulevard to Rixford Avenue, and then to Eastwood. Eastwood to Manhattan Beach in a cul-de-sac. That's $25,000, $100,000 for the Manhattan Beach Rixford project. The Manhattan Beach cul-de-sac with Slayer Avenue, $25,000. Osage to Manhattan Beach, $25,000. And Avis to Manhattan Beach, $25,000. Roughly, the estimate is $200,000 for the roadway improvements. We're gonna be using a portion of that for administrative costs for a community development block grant for our administrative consultant. And then there's a little bit of extra room for contingency in case we go over on the bids, there's any additional funds needed. Planning Commission does not require review for this. The City Attorney's Office reviewed the attached resolution and approved it to form. There will not be any fiscal impacts on the city. This will be, our annual, what we get from the Los Angeles County Community Development Authority, our annual to use on the projects. This concludes staff's report. I'll be happy to answer any questions we have at this time. Thank you.
Very good. Are there any questions of the staff report? Any points of clarification?
Nope, not for me.
Seeing none, it is 7:21. I'm going to open up the public hearing at this time. The public hearing is now open. Is there any that would like to testify in the public hearing in this matter? Seeing none, I'm going to close the public hearing at 7:21. The public hearing is now closed. What is the pleasure of this body concerning?
I'll make a motion since it's another positive improvement for the city. We want to take advantage of it.
Yes, sir. And I'll second it.
Thank you.
So the motion's been made by Councilmember Osborne and seconded by Pullen Miles. Is there any discussion on the motion? Nope. Okay, without any, would the council please vote?
Motion approved unanimously.
All right, thank you, madam. Okay, item number 11 is an urgency ordinance regarding amending the city's regulations of accessory dwelling units. Let's have the staff report. Is that going to be you, sir?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor,
Yes, sir.
Council, and members of the audience. Once again, we're here tonight to address the plethora of state regulations that have come down in recent times. The governor and the Assembly and the Senate have approved new housing bills in October, signed them in November, and now they've become law as of January. I just want to make this clear to the City Council that this is not, by all means, a stopgap for every ADU. This is just an attempt to try to address, give staff time and the City Attorney's Office additional time to work on a full-time regular ordinance that's consistent with state law, consistent with all our regulations. And I'll be brief because it gets very detailed, but what we have tonight is an urgency ordinance for adoption recommendation by staff. And what we're trying to do is address our current ordinance, which you have attached to the ordinance that already has our current regulations for ADUs. And then we have something new that the state has introduced. It's called a junior ADU. So the junior ADUs are a maximum of 500 square feet. Typically, and I'm differentiating so we're different from an ADU, what I'm going to tell you is they're generally rooms with a door with access, generally what we've seen throughout the city on code enforcement cases, and they can share common kitchen and bathroom facilities. So basically a room with a door adjacent with an outside access is what basically we see as a junior ADU. The ADUs are separate types of uses. They can be attached or detached, and we already have regulations adopting it. The state has ultimately usurped us again and a lot of the regulations. What we're proposing today is an urgency ordinance to give staff time to work on a full-time ordinance to require of traffic flow analysis for the regular ADUs. I just talked to the city attorney's office, city manager's office. We went over in detail. We still need to bring this to HCD, Housing and Community Development, because under state law, they're required to review even the urgency ordinance. So we'll be bringing that forward for their final determination as well. What we're recommending is that the council adopt this urgency ordinance requiring a traffic flow analysis for accessory dwelling units that exceed the density. So let me give you an example. If you have an R2 lot, which is typical in Lawndale, you can have a junior ADU with an R2 units and an accessory dwelling unit. If they exceed the density of that zone, we were requesting that they do a traffic flow analysis and bring it to the city before we provide a building permit for the application. If they do not exceed the accessory dwelling unit, if they do not exceed the residential R1, R2, or multifamily, whatever, they will not have to do a traffic flow analysis. I want to be clear. So this is not going to stop all the ADUs. This is just where we can address them, where there's traffic impacts throughout the city. Now, when we bring forward the full regular regulations, we're going to have to get a traffic engineer and study the streets that are impacted, and provide a big map and look at areas to where they're most impacted, where the ADUs will go, or the junior ADUs. But pretty much all of these ADUs, outstanding this urgency ordinance and the full-time ordinance, are just permitted by right, what means with a building permit. So as the previous ordinance, they're allowed by right, this will be exactly the same thing. So if they don't exceed the density of that zone, they're allowed, even with the urgency ordinance. I just want that to be clear. And the difference between a junior ADU and a regular ADU, the junior ADU is a maximum of 500 square feet. And then anything thereof, it's put in the ordinance, it goes up to 1,000 to 1,200 square feet they're allowed to have for their accessory dwelling units. Now, we can't require parking, or they can convert garages now They can convert a room and make it a junior ADU. There's nothing we can do. The state has usurped us. This is just a measure to address the issues that's allowed under state law, and we're requiring a traffic flow analysis, and that's the best that staff could come up with at this time, and we'll bring it back. This has been looked at extensively on my days off. I even work with the city attorney's office, staff working, trying to figure this out and get it, because this always came into effect as of January, so we had limited time to address it, and this is what we have before you. No planning commission review. The ordinance is attached. I'll be happy to answer any questions you may have at this time. Thank you.
Yeah, I do have a question, but let me see if anyone else have a question first. Yes, madam.
So there's a paragraph that says a traffic study conducted in June of 1986 determined that most streets in the city were operating at a level of service E, so the rating is A through F.
Yes.
Because that's so long ago, would you say that they've probably are now at a level F?
What I would say is, because we haven't done a traffic study and we are doing an update to our general plan, I would probably most likely would say we're at a level F on certain level streets. Definitely on the south end, as I mentioned to the city manager, where the Galleria, we've had lots of impacts down in those streets, those collector streets. I'm not talking about Hawthorne, Prairie, or Inglewood. I'm talking about those collector interior streets where we do have impacts. We'll definitely see impacts. We'll have to hire a traffic engineer to study those, and that's when we'll bring the regular ordinance forward for reconsideration to the council. And I agree with you. Yes, there's definitely, we're way past since the 80s. The general plan was adopted in the 90s. It's very old, but we are updating it, and we'll have more traffic analysis put in there. But rest assured, the council already knows, and we do know we're operating at level F in a lot of our streets.
Thank you.
Yep.
Yeah, that does, when you say the census population in 1990 was 27,000, I mean, obviously we're approaching 40,000 in the city, easily.
Headed that way.
It might, yeah. So obviously we have surpassed a level E. So, but of course we would certify that when you have the study. I think Councilman Daniel Reed had something you wanted to add. Daniel, did you want to add something, Councilmember?
No. Just in my head, I'm trying to think.
Okay.
So from the R2s, you could have your regular location, a junior ADU, 1 or 2. Is there a limitation in that?
They're limited to the primary unit. So at the beginning of the staff report, I point out, like in an R1, you can have 2 additional units, a junior ADU and an ADU per primary unit.
So we have one house, now we've got 3, and we've got cars and all that.
It's going to have a tremendous impact.
I just wanted to be sure that was clear to the public for what we were about to talk to. So.
And I just want to point out to the council, we'll be working with HCDA and the city attorney's office to talk to them, because we know they do have authority now on reviewing these, and if the council adopts it tonight, we have to send it directly to HCD and get some feedback. So we may be back here, I don't know, in a couple of weeks talking to city attorneys and city managers on it. Yes, sir.
Good. That's all I have. Thank you.
And that was going to be my question, because I'm glad that we're including the imposition of a traffic flow analysis. My question was going to be, when they look at when the state look at the urgency ordinance, what are they looking at? And could that invalidate our urgency ordinance, or what are they looking at?
It could. We don't know yet. We're going to explain our situation, which is unique than other cities. And I just want to remind the public and council, we're one of the few cities that require 2 units on our R2 lot. That's 5,000 square feet. If you have an extra 3,000 square feet, you get a 3rd additional unit. Not many cities allow that. If we're talking about in the Inland Empire, the typical lot size is 8,000 square feet with 1 single family home. The way this one size fits all that came down from the state may have tremendous impacts. And once we explain to HCD, hopefully they'll understand that in Lawndale, you can have 3 units in an 8,000 square foot lot if you have your 2-car garages for each unit. So we are unique, and we will explain it to them, and they could say it may not be validated, and then we have to come back and bring it back to the council for reconsideration. But we're doing what we can to try to address it and prevent the impacts to the city and the quality of life.
And if I could add on to that, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you.
So this legislation was just signed in the middle of October, and it became effective January 1st. And so that's why we had to bring this to you as this urgency ordinance, so that it could be enacted immediately. And we haven't had the chance to do a traffic study to look at what areas specifically have the traffic flow issues, so that we can address those. we're doing this as fast as we can, and once we get feedback from HCD
Okay.
to make sure this is the right path, we'll keep the council and the public updated, but this is just the best we can do with the time crunch that's been presented.
Okay, very good. Thank you. Let's welcome a speaker on this. Did you want to be a speaker?
Public comment?
Is this still under my public hearing? Okay, do I need to open the public hearing? Okay. Give me one second then. All right, so since we did that and it's a public hearing, what we'll do before, we'll open up the public hearing. How about that? 7:31, the public hearing is now open. Let's take some testimony. Those who would like to speak on this matter, if you will be sworn in by the city attorney.
Do you
She's
swear to
swearing
tell
in.
the truth in your testimony before the city council this evening? Thank you.
Okay, yes, ma'am.
Hello. My name's Eve Summers. I'm a resident here in Lawndale. I participated in the homeless count with several members that are sitting up there, Mayor Miles.
Yes.
And I know that we're concerned about getting people off the street. We often see people that are out there, and somebody asked me for a couple of blankets the other night so they could come sleep over here in the city hall. So I really would like to emphasize that the ADUs are a great opportunity to help get people off the street and who can live in a little space, and people who probably can't afford an entire house or an entire apartment. Also, a lot of people that are interested in ADUs may want to redo their house so that if they know that they can't easily get up the stairs, they might be able to convert part of the downstairs and use that as living space. As we get older, oftentimes we have mobility issues. So my question actually is to Sean Moore, because when I was reading through here, in several places it says that the junior ADUs do not require their own sanitation, that it can be shared with the home. They can go out the house inside the room. They can go through the door and share sanitation with the rest of the house. But there is one place where it says under section 4, 17.48.056, accessory dwelling units and junior accessory dwelling units shall include permanent provisions for living, sleeping, eating, cooking, and sanitation, which are separate from the existing primary residence. So that actually contradicts what it says in two other places, and it might have just been an oversight. So I was hoping before this is approved that that's clarified, because some people might be able to provide a simple kitchen without gas or 220-volt electricity appliances, but it might be hard for them to also provide a bathroom in a junior ADU. And I think it's supposed to be for things like if you have students or a caretaker who's there, and oftentimes those people won't require cars because a lot of our young people can't afford cars, or they love Uber, so they don't drive them. And caretakers may have a car, but oftentimes the elderly person that they are caring for isn't using a car anymore. So in that particular case, the traffic study would probably show that they're not really impacting the neighborhood. So anyway, that's my comments. Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, we'll make sure those are consistent. Do you have any comments on that?
they're as I mentioned to the council at the beginning, junior ADUs, they can share common bathrooms and kitchen facilities.
Yeah.
That's state law. There's no way around it.
Yeah, they need to
State
have a-
law seems to change every year, so this could all go out the window.
I would just say to the council that this thing with the traffic study, that may have something they overlooked, just like on the lot size, when we did the lot size.
Yeah.
And I just want to be clear to the council, this could be back to us in 6 to 7 months as well.
Yeah, that's the way it's been going. They
But
just
just
keep
speaking to the
rewriting the
speaker's
rules.
issue, that she seemed to suggest that there was some inconsistency in the two.
We'll look back at the.
Yeah, I think that was in the report, not in the ordinance
Right.
itself, but we'll double check that.
We'll double check that.
They are required to, a JADU is required to have a food prep area, but not a full kitchen.
That's correct.
If they have access to the other kitchen, and they are not required to have their own bathroom, if they're allowed access to share in the main unit.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay, okay.
So
All right,
that's
so
a
we'll make
minor
sure
edit
it's
on
consistent.
section 4B1.
Yeah. Okay. Yes, ma'am. Go.
Still sworn.
Can you swear in, please?
Do you swear to tell the truth in your testimony before the city council this evening? Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Ham London, 171st. Sorry, I wasn't going to speak, but I hate to contradict. ADUs and junior ADUs are not going to help the homeless. I'm sorry, they're not. They're just going to continue to put money in other people's pockets who have those ADUs or junior ADUs to rent out. So I don't mean to be mean. Yes, we need to help the homeless. We need to find solutions for the homeless populations, but this is not it. This is stupid. This is BS. This is not helping this city or any other city, and it's certainly not helping the homeless. And I am truly sorry, but I can't stand any of this policy crap that has come down and being shoved up our, yes, exactly, because we don't need this. This city is overrun with cars and everything else. But thank you, and I certainly hope that if there's a way to try and offset something, I hope that we can find that way. But again, this is not the solution for the homeless. I am truly sorry, but it's not, and it never will be. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Okay, this is going to be our last. Are you looking to speak?
Excuse me?
Okay, I thought maybe you was looking to speak. Okay, this is going to be our last round. Anyone, because we're going to close comments after this. Anyone think they might even
He wants you all to swear in all at the same time.
Be sworn in at this time. If you think you might even want to speak.
Raise your hand.
All right, because the last go around. Yes, ma'am.
Do you swear to tell the truth in your testimony before the City Council this evening? Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
At the risk of being in agreement with the previous speaker, I have to wholeheartedly acknowledge that what she said is 1,000,000% correct. The ADUs and junior ADUs will do absolutely nothing for the homeless problem. That is a separate issue. And as we all know, parking in Lawndale is atrocious. And I would offer for Sean to look into this. We need to have parking permits limited to 1 permit per residential lot. That's my 2 cents worth.
Okay, thank you, sir. Okay. So we're taking testimony. It is 7:38. We'll close the public hearing at this time and bring it up to the council for any discussion.
Yeah, you kind of took the words out of my mouth, Pam, and the last speaker as well. But I wish it would. I wish it would help the transient problem. But you look at the majority of the transients around town. They have a variety of issues, be it drugs or mental. This one, it may help some that we don't see as often that are in cars or a little hidden from view. The ones around town. But again, the bottom line is this is more housekeeping that the city has to do to try and protect against what the state continues to do. And it's not going to stop. And this is really nothing. But it's necessary for the time being. The state keeps changing the goalposts. The state keeps forcing density upon every city in the state of California. But the irony of it, I was speaking with the city attorney before the meeting. There was a recent report some people may have seen where there was an exodus of, I believe, 120,000 people from LA County in I guess, the last year. So this forced issue of the emergency of housing, it's kind of mixed right now. Who knows what reality is? Because if the report is true that so many people are leaving and yet the state is saying to every city, not just Lawndale, you must increase density. You must. And I serve on a SCAG board, and at these meetings, I think the average resident in not just this city but others would be scared to death to see what the proposals are. They want to build little mini Playa Vistas in residential neighborhoods. You're going to see 4-story construction density housing in your residential neighborhood. Imagine that. That's what they're going to force upon the cities. So you're going to have this monolith pop up potentially in your neighborhood in coming years, and you're going to say, what the heck happened? But this is what people voted for in this state when you vote for the state officials. So don't come to the city in a few years' time when these problems begin to blossom and develop. The city's been trying to fight this stuff. I was talking to a fellow elected in another city. He's up in Sacramento, claiming that he's trying to fight back against all this and regain local control. I said, good luck. What local control? There isn't anymore. It's gone out the window. Anyway, that's enough of my speech.
Okay, thank you for that, Councilman. Are there any other discussions? Okay, what is the pleasure of this body concerning the urgency ordinance?
I'll make the motion. Got to do it.
I'll second it.
Okay, so the motion been made by Osborne and seconded by Mr. Pat Kearney. Is there any discussion on the motion? Seeing none, I'm going to ask the city attorney to read the ordinance for us.
This is urgency ordinance number 1168-20, an urgency ordinance of the City Council of the City of Lawndale, California, amending certain sections in Chapter 17.48 residential zones of the Lawndale Municipal Code regarding accessory dwelling units and finding an exemption from CEQA. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, will the council please vote?
Motion approved unanimously.
Thank you, madam. Next item on the agenda is item number 12, concerning security guard services.
Good evening, Honorable Mayor and City Council members and members of the audience. We are here to discuss an agreement for unarmed security services. In January 2012, the Harold E. Hoffman Community Center was open to the public. Since its opening, the building has been supervised by the Community Services Department staff with backup assistance provided by the LA County Sheriff's Department when necessary. During the past 2 years, supervising the facility has become more challenging than ever due to the number of people visiting the facility on a day-to-day basis, which is a good problem. Most of the people are participating in programs and really utilizing the community center, so that's a good thing. However, the community center often attracts individuals who loiter, attempt to sleep, look for opportunities to steal items. A few of them successfully use the restrooms as a place to bathe and dominate the public seating areas during times of high traffic. At the outdoor areas of the building, such as the second floor terrace, staircases, loading dock area, and hidden areas of the parking garage, individuals frequently spend idle time in those areas. Individuals also try to fix the doors for re-entry into the center after the center closes, and unsuccessfully, might I add, due to our thorough lockup procedures. Individuals who have loitered inside and around the perimeter of the community center have also contributed to increased maintenance costs to the city for general maintenance, such as restroom cleanup, indoor and outdoor graffiti removal, trash pickup, etc. Security services are needed at the community center to allow those that visit the building, such as parents with children, teenagers, adults, seniors, class instructors, and employees, feel secure. In addition to the community center facility, the external areas of City Hall and surrounding parking lots have been included in the scope of services as well. There are areas around City Hall and near employee offices that are commonly used by individuals who spend idle times in the mornings and afternoons, creating both physical and visual nuisances. In addition, the City Hall courtyard, Veterans Memorial Wall, and Community Center parking garage and south parking lot are very popular areas for skateboarding due to the steps, long curbs, and other features attractive to skateboarders. The presence of unarmed security services in these areas will deter these activities from taking place and reduce instances of damages to city property and chance of injury to skateboarders. In October 2019, the City Clerk's Office received 11 RFP responses, requests for proposal responses, which is a very, very good number in response to the city's RFP, which was distributed earlier that month. After initial review of the 11 proposals, 4 were eliminated as being incomplete, so we were left with 7 really good proposals that met all the city's requirements in terms of submission. A second review was created with all those 7 finalists, so to speak, and Alpha and Omega Group Security Services Incorporated has been chosen as the most responsible proposer, not only for cost and experience, but for satisfying all requirements of the city's RFP. Each of Alpha and Omega Group Security Services Incorporated references were positive to, which there were 5. They are the exclusive licensed security officer provider for a number of event staffing companies that provide on-site security services for the following: Los Angeles Dodgers, Anaheim and Long Beach Convention Centers, Staples Center, Shrine Auditorium, and the Orpheum Theater, among others. In terms of government experience, Alpha and Omega Group Security Services currently provides unarmed security services for the County of Orange, to include 7 libraries, 6 healthcare agencies, 1 district attorney's office, one Department of Child Services building, and a number of administrative offices, and 2 parking lots. So their experience in government security, in government services for unarmed security officers is rather extensive. The attached agreement authorizes unarmed security services work for one officer for approximately 2,938 hours of service during the term of the agreement, or approximately 1,469 hours per year. Each 30 minutes, the assigned security officer will complete 1 loop of patrols as designated below. So patrols are completed consistently and regularly. Consistent patrols will prevent undesirable activities from starting back up again once they've been discontinued. 15 minutes of that patrol will happen inside the community center. 5 minutes of that patrol will be the perimeter of the community center. 5 minutes of that patrol will include community center parking garage, City Hall South parking lot, and the balance of that 30 minutes, which is 5 minutes, will be dedicated to the City Hall courtyard, Veterans Memorial Wall, City Hall and Library lawn, in addition to the adjacent parking lots. So those patrols will happen regularly every 30 minutes while the security services are on duty. Alpha and Omega Group Security Services has a proactive and non-confrontational approach that seeks agreement or buy-in from the individuals being addressed. In cases where this approach may not work, the local law enforcement agency will be contacted to assist in gaining further compliance. The schedule of performance will include unarmed security services as follows during the term of the contract for no more than 28.25 hours per week, beginning this coming Monday, January 13th, 2020, provided that the contract is approved by council. And the schedule will be as follows: Mondays, Tuesdays, and Wednesdays, 3 p.m. to 8:15, Thursdays, 1 p.m. to 8:15, and Fridays, 11 a.m. to 4:15. The attached agreement was reviewed by the City Attorney, Tiffany Israel, and has been approved as to form. The fiscal impact is as follows. Funds totaling $52,000 have been included in the FY 2019-20 budget in the Community Services Department Contract Services line item. Staff recommends that the City Council approve the attached contract services for unarmed security services for Harold D. Hoffman Community Center, City Hall Courtyard, Veterans Memorial Wall, and surrounding parking lots between the City of Lawndale and Alpha and Omega Group Security Services for a 2-year term, once again beginning January 13th, 2020, and continuing through January 12th, 2022, for an amount not to exceed $51,386. And that concludes my report, and staff is available for questions.
I think you pretty much answered everything. That was pretty.
Yeah, it was very comprehensive.
After that, I mean, but we appreciate that.
Yeah.
I have questions.
Yes,
I just have
then you read. I think was first.
one. I just want to say a comment. I think this is long overdue because we've seen the incidence increase of problems around the Civic Center complex. I mean, you were telling me just the other day about the transient. He's defecated all over the wall out here, and it was just a disaster. And this has been needed for a long time. The sheriffs can't be here 24 hours a day on the site and continually patrolling, but we've called them so many times on various incidents over the years I've been on council. So I think this is way overdue. I do have a question now. This individual, whoever this unarmed patrol will be, he's not going to, when he sees an incident, he's going to direct the call personally to law enforcement. He's not going to have to come to you or city staff and say, by the way, can you call the sheriffs for blah, blah, blah. He'll be in direct contact?
I think they'll try to resolve the problem on site and get compliance right away.
If they can, yeah.
Yeah, if they can.
I'm giving an example that goes beyond that, I guess.
In some cases, they won't, which law enforcement will be called to help assist.
But that person will, not,
Yes.
It won't have to go through a secondary report to staff or anything.
No, no. But, and to piggyback off of that, they have their post orders. Typical security companies have post orders and reports that they do, which we'll have copies of,
Right.
so we can catch up on the day's events or the weekly events and stay on top of things.
Obviously, they're going to be fully trained and everything, so it's not something that falls to staff. That has to be the the policemen, for lack of a better term. Their insurance covers them on all incidents, right? Or are they under the umbrella, Tiffany, of our insurance as well? It's strictly under theirs? Okay, good.
Yeah, they're adequately insured, and we have documentation on them already.
And this will be,
An indemnity.
I forgot that part in the report, a yearly contract for review?
2 years.
2 years, excuse me, okay.
Yeah.
But is there a short-term review on it?
Well, there's always a 30-day.
That's what I mean.
Yeah, there's our template language,
Okay,
with the
good.
30-day cancellation
Good.
if there's a problem.
Okay, thank you.
And obviously, the time schedule is from the incidents that we've been having. You know, that's our hot times.
They are. Those are the hot times. We get a lot of action from the kids after school. They're just chomping at the bit to get out of school and get out of class and get over here and do their thing. So the high times are generally after school, in the evenings, into the later evenings, early night. Very few problems on weekends, but there are some there.
Well, we've seen the damage to the steps, the wall, the skateboard slammed.
Yeah.
It's supposed to be a veteran memorial wall, but it's just used as a recreation facility.
Yeah, we try to direct them to a Launder Park, which I believe in
skate park.
2015 they opened up their skate park.
There's a skate
over there.
park right next to the pool there.
Just too far for the kids to get to. So.
Yeah. And there's another one down Prairie, the same thing. It's too far for them to get to. Though what I was wanting to know, though, is if we find a hot spot outside of those hours, is there a shift capacity? Where if we're finding that we have something in the morning where it's a hot day or something like that, where they realize they're here and they shift to another time zone, do they have the flexibility
Good question.
to
cover that?
That's a great question. They absolutely do. And there's going to be times where we need to do that. There's going to be times where we maybe need some special event coverage or other supplemental coverage. And yeah, they're very flexible. And I've already spoken to them this evening. And if they're open, if we have more work for them, they're certainly open to providing.
Okay, certainly overdue. It's nice not to have to come out and yell at the kids once we leave a function.
Yes.
And I think it's rather timely as well. I was just in a conversation earlier today with about 4 seniors. They were having lunch across the street, and they brought this issue up about some of the kids holding up the elevators or what have you over at the center, and all the shenanigans that normally you do when you're high school students or whatever. So this was timely, and I told them that we would be discussing this issue tonight, and it's just kind of ironic they just brought it up earlier today. So I'm glad to see this on the agenda. Okay, with that, what is the pleasure of this body?
Bernie, did I have a question?
No, I think you want to make a motion. No, he don't.
I do.
He don't have a question. Go ahead.
If we need be, you have Friday only to 4:15. Why isn't Friday 8:15 too?
Why is Friday till 4:15?
Yeah.
Generally, the community center, unless we have nighttime reservations, is closed on Fridays at 4. And we bring them in at 11 because that's when some of the activity does happen in the afternoons. And we also have a light staff on Fridays as well, as you know.
Yeah.
Most full-time employees are off, and the center's managed by part-timers.
But I think Pat brings up a good thing on that time. You come by here, and I drive around the city all the time. You come by later in the evening, and it's just party time around here.
Yeah.
So you might want to look into adjustment.
I guess we start with this, but
Start with this, see how
down
it
the
goes.
road, we get 8:15 Monday through Friday, or even the weekends. Because I see homeless on the weekend over by the elevator, over by the trash can receptacle. They're still here.
Yeah.
That's why I asked Kevin about why don't we have weekend coverage?
Yeah. Well, you know what? At this point, we basically did it on need, and we weren't sure of the funding available. But to be honest, in the big scheme of things, the big picture of things, we did envision possibly more security services later. And I would say outside of these times, the other problems we have are generally overnight. We don't know who comes up to the second floor terrace. They know when we open, they know when we close. A lot of times they'll come and sleep there after we're gone, and they'll be gone before Public Works shows up at 6:30. But I think, depending on money available and how far you folks want to take this, I think it would be a good idea to eventually expand our security services.
Related to this, and you may not be able to answer, Mike, because it was installed, about 10 years ago? We had the security cameras installed around the building. Hopefully they're still active, but they're kind of antiquated. Well, not just, but City Hall. We had monitoring cameras, but that was about a decade ago, and I don't know how clear they are or if they're even still working, to be honest. Can someone just let us know on that?
We can certainly find
Yeah,
out. I know that we had a minor incident a couple weeks ago, and the cameras were somewhat useful. I'll have to check.
So they're
to see-
functioning still.
Yeah, they're functioning.
That's good to know.
I'll have to check back
Yeah.
to see the camera quality, but
Yeah.
we'll look into that.
Yeah, we may need to upgrade those at some point. That's really old.
Interesting you mentioned that. Just on a future project, we're working on a grant-funded project right now to replace all the video cameras in the community center, because I believe most area of the cities right now are probably SD, not even HD. I know the community center, when those cameras were installed in 2011, they're SD. And I think we should have gotten HD way back then, but we didn't. But we're going to be moving towards 2K or 4K, whatever the...
I know for my home unit, the cost has come way down on the equipment, so.
Okay,
Explore it.
so on the item before us tonight, what is the pleasure of this board?
I'll make a motion to approve.
I'll
Okay,
second.
motion's been made by Reed that we approve item number 12, and second by Mr. Pat Kearney. Is there any discussion on the motion? Seeing none, would the council please vote?
Motion approved unanimously.
Thank you. Next item is item number 13, concerning a survey regarding a potential music festival, a music event.
Thank you again, Honorable Mayor and City Council members and members of the public. We're here to discuss this survey results regarding potential additional music festival event. And we do have a short PowerPoint presentation to go along with it, so people can see the results of the survey and what was considered and all that. I do want to make one comment regarding the hard copy staff report. You folks have probably already caught this if you've read it, but anyway, there is a small issue with the staff report on pages 2 and 3. What we did is we erroneously transposed or inverted the questions with the table. So really quickly, if you look at page 2, it says question number 1. You're actually going to have question number 2 with the first table results. If you look at page 3, you're going to see question number 2, which is actually question number 1 with the question 2 results. It's all clear on the PowerPoint, so you folks will see it on the dais, and the community will be getting the proper...
Just flip those two in a row.
Okay.
Yeah, just a quick last-minute change.
And you're going to be able to go through this pretty quickly, right?
Quickly? Absolutely.
Thank you.
He's done.
At the October 21st, 2019 City Council meeting, an agenda item was brought forth titled Renaming of the City's Music Festival, City's Annual Music Festival. During the October 21 City Council meeting, adding a potential second music event in the city was discussed. The potential addition of a second music event in the city was seen as an alternative to changing the nature of the Lawndale Blues Festival, an established event with a 7-year history and growing crowds each year since its inception. Following this discussion, the City Council directed staff to create a community survey to solicit feedback on what types of musical acts Lawndale residents would be interested in should a second music festival event added to the city's menu of special events. In addition, there were 2 other questions asked. What genres of music would you like to see? And I believe there was 14 included. And each survey taker was able to choose up to 3. And the third question was, what time of year would you like to see this if it comes to fruition? And let's take a look at the survey and see what the public said. And regarding the PowerPoint, I'd like to thank Matthew Ceballos and the City Clerk's office for putting this together, and appreciate his efforts. So page 1 is self-explanatory. Moving on to page 2. The survey was active from November 12th, 2019 to December 9th, 2019. There were 6 forms of outreach to get as many surveys as we could. City Facebook page was used extensively, the city's website, Channel 2 cable television just for advertising purposes. I obviously couldn't do the survey on Channel 22. A mass email blast from the city's, from the Community Services Registration software program, which hits about 8,000 people. Ads on the digital marquee, which is adjacent to the 405 freeway, the EMI sign, which the city has has an easement to EMI for. And we use 10 A-phrase signs with QR codes at 10 different facilities in the city. The community center, the parks. Mr. Reyes was amenable to letting us put one over at MSD, and just at City Hall also. So those, I think, helped gather more surveys as well. A total of 188 surveys were received, 183 via the online survey, and you could only take it online or hard copy. So all these advertising elements just directed people to the website, and 5 paper surveys. Moving on to screen number 3. As we mentioned before, we gave 14 genres of music, and each survey taker had up to 3 results. The top 4 were 94 for salsa/Latin, 60 was 80s rock, 48, which came in 3rd place, is for jazz, and 42 people identified positively with the pop music genre, which was the fourth of the 4. And we could go deeper if you'd like, but they're all there. Country, 90s, 70s. We got opinions on every single genre we had out here. Moving on to page 4. It's just a simple pie chart, which goes to show that overwhelmingly the community wanted to see a concert in the park series. And moving on to page 5, the final page or next to last page of the survey. The 4 popular months in order were July, June, May, and August. April was a close 5th, and as you can see the others, it kind of went down from there with just very few, 7 total from December, November, January, and February. And moving to the last page of the PowerPoint presentation is just an estimated fiscal impact of all these events, and obviously it's not down to the penny, but it's pretty close. A concert in the park series, a cost per event, we're looking at $4,150 approximately. And you can see the breakdown of each category, and once again, I think it's very, very close. So, if the council chooses 2 concert in the parks, 3 concert in the parks, 4, whatever it may be, then that would be multiplied by $4,150, and we would get an approximate budget total. 2-day festival, which had a few votes, came out as $16,600. And then a 1-day festival, $8,800 was one of the other options in terms of what types of events the public would like to see. So there you have your results, and just finishing my staff report. Staff recommends that, number 1, the City Council discuss the survey results and provide staff direction as it pertains to potential a second music festival event or music event. Or number 2, discuss funding options for a potential second music event. So that concludes my report, and I'll be here to answer questions or offer any assistance I can in the decision-making process.
Okay, thank you for that report. Just real quick clarification. You said on the concert in the park series that $4,000 figure, that's 4,000 times the amount of events. Like if we had 1, it would be 4,200. If we had 2, multiply that.
Yes.
You did say that, right?
I think the answer is
yes. I just wanted to be
just to clarify. 4,150 is for one event. So
it's for one event.
Yes.
Yeah. So the 4,205 is for one concert in the park.
Yes.
Day.
Yes.
Because when you say a series, it's usually more than 1. That's why I was confused. Okay.
The reason why we gave 1 is because you can think about that as you determine what number of events you'd like to have if you folks want to go there.
Okay. Okay, great. I just want clarification. All right. Anybody like to discuss this item?
Yeah. Thanks, Mike. I think it's kind of nice that people like music. So I have never had an objection to do another festival. If you want to do as Pat suggested, the Latin salsa, I say do it. Try it. I don't know about doing a whole bunch, maybe just trying the one because you want to get kind of a rhythm going.
Yeah.
You don't want to bite off more than you can chew.
Yeah.
So maybe just try the Latin
Yeah,
salsa
it's too
one,
much.
like people are asking for July or something. Try it. The other thing is I noticed your survey,
July is-
you've got all these things chopped up. It's, if you added all the rock together, you've got actually over 200 here. You got like 5 different types of rock. I don't differentiate it in my mind. You know, I can't tell 60s and 70s music. I guess I could guess the year of some of the more modern stuff, but and pop to me, some people call pop and rock the same thing. But
yeah.
I'd say just for variety, you know, because we already have the blues thing, and that kind of rockish on some of it. But
Yeah,
go
but
for the second one rather than trying to do too much at once. Maybe the next year. I know that Torrance in the years past, they always had a thing called Wild Wednesdays. That was weekly, and they had like a variety of music going on during the summer months. But I don't know. I would say just go slow and try another one.
Let's see what Mr. Pettigrew, you have something?
Okay, and I see that the Park and Rec was not involved in this. I think they should have input on it. Because I think we'll be using, or I'm thinking they'll be using some of their money for one of these concerts. Is that correct? Can I
Well, we
assume that?
could, or you
I hate to
could
assume
not.
that, but
As I mentioned way back in October, not way back, but October 21st, Parks and Rec has discussed possibly sponsoring an event in the
I
past.
think they should have input on this too. And
They
then
had
bring it
what?
back to us.
Almost 100,000 in their account, you told me.
They're very close to 6 figures, if not just barely under. I would say mid to high 90s.
And that's supposed to be spent on community events.
Yeah.
As the rules.
We never got that.
So
swimming
I'd like
pool.
to see what their input is and bring it back to us and see if they have one to go with, one day concert in the park.
Are we talking about one event or?
I would suggest I was going to suggest one event, although it says series. Well, it does say series, concert in the park. One.
Well, yeah, I'm thinking you don't want to
Yeah,
overdo
I'm
it
thinking
and
that too.
overdo staff and trying to get the wheels turning because you're going to have the blues in, September? So if you did the
Yeah,
salsa
that's
in
one, yeah.
July, that's plenty of gap. And if it's easy, and you wanted to try 3 in the summer, another year, that's another possibility.
See how that one goes.
Because if you total those results, like I said, it's over 200, the mixture of rock.
So
all
the
different-
concert in the park would be one band, 2 bands, 3 bands?
It's whatever you want.
Yeah, okay. That's what we need, input from the Park and Rec. See what they want.
It's probably good to have more than one.
Typically, it's one. Yeah.
Yeah.
But it could be different.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This one act has 2 or 3 hours worth of music, but
Yeah.
I have
At 4,000.
a question. So traditionally, I think when it first started, the blues festival, it was jazz and blues. Is there
Yeah.
what was the reason for eliminating the?
I can tell you.
I'm glad we did.
One of the Park and Rec commissioners, when I was suggesting all this to him, I was saying, let's be different from Gardena. They had the jazz festival. He goes, oh, but I love jazz. I got it. It's got to be jazz too. And I said, all right. But then, ironically, a couple years later, he came to me and goes, oh, we got to drop the jazz and just make it blues because more people like the blues. I go, well, okay.
Yep.
But that's how that evolved.
Okay, I was just wondering because it looks like it was well received
3
on
on
the
the list.
And
the genre, and then
with jazz.
similar to how Councilmember Osborne brought up the rock being, you could group it in. With regards to Latin / salsa, I mean, there's so much Latin music. There's, I was kind of confused at the way it was grouped with salsa because, I mean, there's, reggaeton, there's bachata, and all these
That's
different
true.
types. So it's that one. I'm not quite sure how. I mean, it's a high result, but there's so many genres within that.
Like Pat's suggesting, Park and Rec, they could get maybe
Narrow-
2 or 3 different bands, one of each of those
Yeah.
genres mixed in.
Yeah.
You're right. There's Latin jazz, Latin rock. There's just, it goes on and on.
Rock en Espanol, yeah, there's like so many. So
Yeah.
for me, I'm like, because I listen to a lot of Latin music, so I'm like, I didn't understand how the salsa
Yeah,
got
give
grouped.
each one a time slot, and you've got an afternoon.
And then, but I agree with Pat. I think we definitely need to bring it up to Parks and Rec. And I think you had mentioned previously that they were even interested in doing that. So
Yeah.
I think we
It's been discussed in the past, yes.
I think we bounce it off of them and then see what we come to.
Well, let me put it out there in this way, I think, obviously, the public is looking for it. we got a much better response than I thought we were going to get. I'd say we move forward and see if we can do it and put it in Parks and Rec's hands for the mechanics of it.
Yeah.
Is it one, is it multiple, how is it going to work? And let them handle it and let them take care of it. Deal with the sponsorship. And as a footnote, maybe they can look at some community sponsors. There's folks in the community that want to toss in for an event as well.
Sure.
So maybe it can just be kind of a fair style and look at that. But, I'm all for it. Put it together and let them manage
And you
it.
don't need a vote on this. You
But
just need a
looking at-
consensus.
Yeah,
Right?
but
Just
looking at the, giving them direction to look at the Latin salsa category, right? Not just all 14 of these categories.
Yeah. Your top category, rock it, make it happen.
Don't want to overburden them the first.
Yeah, I mean,
the
if
first
it's
year.
the Latin salsa, I'm okay with that, but like, because I do, for myself, I would differentiate the rock. Like for me, I would.
You add it up, that's
I
the
wouldn't
biggest
mind
number.
80s rocks, but I wouldn't go anywhere that's playing 60s rock.
What?
That's just
What?
That's just not my era. I'll do 80s and I'll do 70s, but that's where I get off. I won't do 70s, 60s. If you say it's going to be 60s,
That's ageism, Robert.
The 60s is when you can understand the song.
Well, that might be true, but yeah, I mean,
It's called ageism.
I'll let my parents know they're gonna do 60s rocks, and that's when maybe they'll get in on that. But remember, I was born in '66.
Maybe take the top.
It was almost over when I was born.
Take
Run your horizons, Robert.
But 80s is good. 90s is good.
90s?
90s rock is good.
You can't understand their
That's
words.
alternative.
You can't understand what they're saying.
You don't like 90s? Oh, see, that's age.
Yeah. So,
Anyway, so what were we?
If I could kind of recap this to make sure I'm on the right track, we want an introductory concert in the park event in July.
Yeah.
Overseen by Parks and Rec and financed by Parks and Rec.
Okay.
And we want that to be some form of Latin or salsa music.
Yeah.
And I imagine Jane Addams Park would be the great location. It's already
got
established as one.
experience there.
the question is, we're going with one group, one Latin music, or are we going to go with the top four? Four different bands, top four.
I would pick more than one group.
Yeah.
Have a better
At least two.
afternoon.
So we want to do
People like variety too.
a one-day event with multiple bands?
Well, like we have at the concert,
Just like we do with the
Blues
blues.
Festival.
Why not?
Okay.
That's manageable.
You draw more people that way too if you have more
Yeah.
than one group.
I mean, if you're just going to put one group up for 2.5 hours, that's not going to do it.
Oh, no.
So look
Yeah,
at kind of
yeah,
a mirror piece with a mix and
What, Robert, you want to put 60s in there?
have a great time.
Yeah, if it's pop,
We'll slip some 60s in.
I don't know if the
just to-
Moody
just to
Blues
have
are
fun.
free
Yeah,
or not.
we'll let
like some pop 60s. What, you gonna put some Crosby, Stills, and Nash in there?
Hey,
So,
I thought you didn't like older music.
But that's like, that's a
That's
little
60s
different.
music.
That's a little different. Okay.
So is it fair to say our introductory event will be in July? Latin salsa, 80s rock, jazz, and pop?
And then, Mike, add direction as I think is fair. Just say if it's doable and staff feels they can accommodate possibly like the following year after, if it goes smooth and no problems, you could try a third, spread it out so you have maybe 3 during the summer. Because you had a huge, like Robert was saying, you have a lot of other people there in the other categories.
Yeah.
But maybe not just the next year because that's too soon.
Yeah.
Give them an easier time to get it together.
Okay.
Yeah, July really helps. May would be a real push. Yeah.
Well, I mean,
Yeah.
if in a perfect world, let's say you did one in July and then another one in the mid of summer and then the September in the future, like a couple years out or 3 years out, whatever.
All right. So how you
Have
feel
an
about that? Got
information,
some
have an
direction?
informational vote booth at it and see how it goes.
Yeah,
Yeah.
You
like I
it'd be
said,
fun.
you
We
okay?
have activities all summer long.
Is there any preference in day or night of the week or anything like that, or you want to leave that?
No,
to
let the
staff?
committee look at that. Let the
Yeah.
Parks and
Yeah.
Rec look
Yeah.
at all those details. We're hashing it out right now,
Parks
and
and
we're.
Yeah, Sunday 6 a.m.
Yeah.
That'll wake Pat up early.
Yeah. Okay. You good with the direction?
I
Got
have
it?
what I need.
You good? Okay. All right.
Thank you, Council.
Thank you.
And Mr. Mayor, just for further clarification, so
Yes, sir.
after it goes to the Parks and Rec Commission, do you want this to come back to the city council?
Maybe it's an
Yeah, it should
information
come-
only,
Yeah.
Information
Come
only.
back.
unless there's questions
Give
or
us a
something.
chance.
Just to report out
Yeah.
the recommendation?
Yeah.
to know what's going on in case we have any
Okay.
problems with it. Okay. All right. Good discussion. Okay, item number 14 is any comments from the mayor, city council members, any reports of attendance, or any meetings that you would like to report, any meals you may have consumed.
Yeah, there is one.
That used to be part of it, but we just kind of dropped that off.
Annually, we see Jim and Carrie from Donate Life, and they offer the invitation to attend their event. It's tied with the Tournament of Roses parade, and I attended that. I forget the day it was a couple of weeks ago. And again, a heartwarming morning service. They have breakfast there, but it's always something that stays with you because you hear the stories of those people who either were recipients of donor organs or themselves donated and perhaps were deceased at the time of the donation. So it's very heartwarming to hear those stories, especially the survivorship, and those are some of the personages who are riding on the float during the parade. So if you saw it on television, it's the Donate Life float, and it's quite beautiful. But the stories are even more beautiful. So I attended that as I have in the past years. Lastly, also, Robert, just FYI, I have comments I'd like to make in a closing for a Lawndale resident. I didn't get a chance to talk to you before the meeting, so when we get to that, that's it.
Good.
Councilman
Yeah, I don't think I had anything that I had a meal for, but I did enjoy the layout. I missed Angel Tree. Unfortunately, I had a medical emergency, and it's still ongoing. But outside of that, we had our Christmas event and that 60th anniversary. That was wonderful. And here's 2020. Let's move forward. It's a good day.
All right, thank you. Mr. Pat Kearney.
Okay, I also attended Angel Tree, and Saturday, Sunday after that, we had two great Santas out there. I will mention their names, but one sitting to the left of me. And I also attended the Library Trust and Oversight Committee, which this month is the 15th, and the new city manager, Kevin, is now the alternate at large, I believe. So he'll be attending with me, and that's it.
Okay, Madam Mayor Pro Tem.
I attended the Angel Tree lighting, which was a lot of fun. Mayor Pullen Miles and I and our new city manager, we were able to go to a town hall with the Sheriff Villanueva. So he kind of spoke to us a little bit about what he's planning to do with the department. In all honesty, it wasn't too reassuring. He kept emphasizing the budget and the deficit, and the county had to pay the difference, and so it just kind of leaves the city a little vulnerable, in the middle of it, depending on, what they decide and what we have to come up with. So, and then I think that's all I had for this month, or last month. So I'll pass it along.
Okay. Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem. So I too attended the Angel Tree lighting ceremony, which was well received, well attended this year. The attendance was great. The staff and the volunteers did a great job putting on that annual event. The weather was great this year, which is probably why we had more greater attendance. It wasn't nearly as cold as it was the year before, and that drove a lot of folks out from not just Lawndale, but from the surrounding cities, Gardena and Hawthorne in particular. So I just want to thank the staff for putting on that event. It was a great event, followed up with the 2 days of the opening skating rink, ice skating rink, which we'll do next year as well, and hope to grow that portion of the program. So everyone just had a great time. I also attended the sanitation district meeting, our regular monthly meeting. Someone mentioned earlier today, we mentioned earlier today when we were talking about the trash recycling, not the trash, the trash fees, and we touched on the issue of the fact that China is no longer receiving our recyclables. At the sanitation district, I was given a briefing on that issue that China historically took a lot of our recycled product and all kind of different materials. Instead of these materials being put in our landfills, they would go to China, and they did who knows what with these materials or what have you. But they have since made a decision that they're no longer accepting these types of materials from the United States and other countries, and that has a direct effect on us, because what that means is that we now have to dispose of those materials pursuant to the state and federal law, what have you. And so now the waste haulers who did not necessarily deal with the those types of materials because we was shipping away to China, a lot of it away to China, now they have to dispose of it. And of course that, increases your disposal, of your trash disposal prices. So that is going to have a bearing on, as we move forward, as, China and other places decide no longer take what they call our junk. And so I just wanted to point that out for everyone. Yes, we did have the meeting, Mayor Pro Temp Torres and I did have the meeting with the sheriff, and we appreciate the sheriff holding the meeting. It was in December, and we was able to get in towards the end of the year, but we appreciate him including us in on the meeting before he had his town hall meeting to talk about the goals for the sheriff department moving forth. I'm with you. I mean, I didn't necessarily come out of there feeling like all confident, and we just had a strong team building exercise here, and we're just ready to go. I just didn't feel that. I do appreciate the fact that from his perspective, he gave us without any fluff what he feels is the best and appropriate approach. I did appreciate that part. I'm just not too excited about it, what have you. But we'll see, moving forward, working with the sheriffs. I do have to say, obviously, it has absolutely no bearing whatsoever on the fine deputies who service the city of Lawndale, of course, with our captain and all his lieutenants. But I do appreciate the meeting. And with that, I just want to bring up one other thing that came up tonight. We talked repeatedly tonight about local control. That was brought up because we see with the housing elements, whether it's the accessory dwellings or what have you, the state is continuing to encroach on what is called local control. Unfortunately, cities, as you may be aware of, are creatures for the most part of the state, and that's a part a lot of people don't really understand, that the cities are a creation of the state. And because of that, the state legislature has a lot of authority that they can grant to cities, and as well as authorities they can encroach or take away from cities, because the cities are creations of the state. But with it, one of that being local control. But one way you can control or get more local control is through being a charter city. So the city of Lawndale is a general law city, which means we fall under the general laws of the state of California. As a charter city, you're able to have more control over some of your municipal ordinances, some of your local land control issues or what have you, and you can exempt yourself from some of the policies that's mandated by the state of California, unless in some cases, of course, if it's written into the legislation itself where it says including charter cities or what have you, then of course in that case the cities will be have to carry out those mandates from the state. I don't know if it's time for us to at least look into the ideal of being a charter city. I know recently there was a charter city in the South Bay, the city of Carson, I should say, became a charter city with the whole notion that they will gain more control of their land use policies and things of that nature by being a charter city. I don't know if that's something fitting for the city of Lawndale, but I think it's worth looking at least into preliminarily, at least, just so we see what's the pros and cons of becoming a charter city, and if we are allowed to become a charter city, and what's the parameters or what have you. I was told before the Carson became a charter city years ago that the state of California wasn't allowing any more charter cities. And that was obviously the rumor for years that you cannot become a charter city.
Robert?
Obviously that wasn't the case because Carson is now a charter city.
Just to add just briefly, I do recall the late council member Rudolph had inquired about this, and I don't know if Tiffany, you were the attorney that answered this question, but it was brought up a number of years ago, more than 10 years ago. And there was reasons that told to the council at the time why it was not possible then. I don't know if those are still valid reasons or not. So you bring up a good point, though.
So maybe we can, thank you for that. Maybe we can revisit that, and maybe if those issues are still valid, or at least we'll know, what's out there, what does it mean to be a charter city for the city of Lawndale, if that is in fact an option. Like I say, I'm not proposing it at this point, but I'm simply saying it in doing our due diligence and making sure that we have as much control as we can, because we are elected to this body to make decisions on behalf of our residents, but yet our hands are tied often by the legislation in Sacramento. And if we can do anything to get as much as our power back, or to shield our authority from the state, I think it behooves us to at least look into that, and that way we can at least make a conscious decision whether or not it's something appropriate for this community. So
It does take a vote of the residents, but
I understand.
But so it's a whole process, and I think that's why it ended up not going down that path that time.
Right.
I'll see what I have on that,
Yeah.
but we can definitely get you information on
So
that.
what we'd be looking for, thank you for it, that is like, what would be the pros and cons, advantages, disadvantages of being a charter city? I understand the mechanism of becoming a charter city. It takes a vote of the body first, and then a vote of the public as well. But if we can look into, like I said,
Absolutely.
I appreciate that. Okay.
Maybe just a quick add is just to identify those South Bay cities. I know Torrance is. I think Redondo might be.
Redondo is.
Is Inglewood? I'm not sure.
Inglewood, yeah.
So 3 in the South Bay are currently charter. I don't know if you said Carson's completed it?
Carson is, yeah.
So that's 4. If we could also just clarify what other ones are.
Yeah. Okay, with that, that's all I have. And let's have our first city manager's report.
Yes, well, thank you, Mr. Mayor, and members of the City Council. Just wanted to report to you that this is the beginning of my 5th week on the job. I do appreciate the opportunity to be here as your city manager. It's been, everything's been great so far. Had a great time. I've had a good time working with our department heads. Each of them are very bright, very experienced, and very knowledgeable about our operations here. So I'm looking forward to continuing to work with them and learn as much as I can. And of course, working with other agencies that we work closely with, and working with community members. I've already had a chance to do some of that, and so I'm just looking forward to getting as involved as I can, jumping in and getting a lot done. There's a lot of opportunity here in Lawndale that I see, and I just really look forward to, again, bringing forward the experience that I've gained over the years and affecting that here in Lawndale. So wanted to say that. Also, just as a follow-up, Tiffany just handed me some further information regarding our new trash contract. And in the contract, it does state that for residential and multifamily properties that have cart service, that's billed on a quarterly basis, which is different from commercial customers with bin service that's billed on a monthly basis. So that may be some of the confusion that's out there with some residents. We'll dig into it a little bit more. We'll talk to residents. I'll talk with our Public Works Department to get that clarification and try to get that information out to the public. But again, as I mentioned, we will come back at the next meeting with a clarifying report as to how the billing process works for this new contract.
Okay, thank you for that. Okay, before we're going to adjourn. Do you want to adjourn?
Yeah, there was just a second before that, though, just to acknowledge, I think we all got this letter from Jana Kimball. Just wanted to say thank you for the kind remarks and the sentiments. Have you all got the same thing? Yeah, that was nice. If we could close this evening in memory of Bess Kerna. I think some of you did know her. She was a 50-year resident of the city. Her husband who preceded her in death, Ed, oh gosh, he was class of 44. Went to high school with my mom over losing her, and all the kids, longtime Lawndale family. Very sweet lady. Used to see her down the street on 147th. Always had her American flag out there. She'd be exercising, even in her 80s, out there on her exercise bike, waving at everybody as they go by. Just a sweetheart. She passed away at age 91, so I'd ask that we could close in her memory. And also, I don't know if it to be discussed at this time, but in the past, Robert, I know the mayor has signed the letter. I'd like it that we could all sign it for the family in this case, if not in the future for others as well, because the sentiment is definitely from the city and we represent the city. I know that it just was how it was adopted. When we do certificates, we all sign them, but for some reason the condolence letter, we're not, but I think we should, since it's a family friend, you know. Okay, and that's all I have.
All right. Anyone else? Okay, with that, and we will adjourn memory. It is, okay, it's now 8:31. The next scheduled meeting of the Lawndale City Council will be held at 6:30 p.m. Tuesday, January 21st, in the City Hall chambers. It's now 8:31. This meeting is adjourned.
31 minutes late.
I know. That's because of that report, that 30-minute report.